Only the strongest will survive in today's corporate landscape. Hence, the evolution of the deadly Syndicate agent.
So, Syndicate is the sequel, or rather remake, to the famous strategy game from the 90s. As you can see, it is nothing like those games of old, which has upset quite a few people, but you know, I don't think it's that big an issue, because this to me feels like they've just taken the loose premise of Syndicate, which I find really interesting about a sort of a world ruled by corporations, and made a new game based on it. So I don't really think of it as a Syndicate game. I just look at it as a new quality first-person shooter from Starbreeze, who have made really good games, The Darkness and the Chronicles of Riddick games.
Your mission success, your survival, and ultimately your reputation relies upon the weapons you choose to use in a given scenario.
As I said, it's a shooter, it's not a strategy game, and there's not that much depth to it, despite the legacy of the series is of strategy and tactics. This is just a straightforward shoot 'em up, really. I mean, I've played the first 3 hours. You're seeing some chopped up footage from the opening scenes of the game here. So there's a lot of gimmicks in it, there's a lot of hacking into things and using your mental implants to control enemies and whatnot, but really those are kind of like your triggering little cutscenes, so it's the illusion of doing this cool stuff, but really your input is the usual first-person shooter fare, so you can decide whether you're ready for that or not. I think it's pretty good. I think as a shooter it's very accomplished, but the setting and the characters and the story and the general mood is incredibly polished and very immersive, borrowing from Blade Runner, as so many games these days are, quite heavily, and other kind of cyberpunk fiction. So it's a great futuristic world, very well realised. The characters are beautifully animated, the lighting is incredible, so it has a sort of general feel of quality about it that a lot of shooters lack.
The market is at a critical juncture and war is brewing between the corporations.
The general premise is that you are an enforcer for one of these syndicates that rules the world, essentially, and you are sent to deal with other syndicates, so there's a lot of infighting between these companies, and that forms the basis of your role in the game. The biggest thing I noticed about playing this preview version is that while it looks like a modern game and it has the polish of a modern big budget game, it really feels in a way kind of old school, and that kind of let me down a little bit, as in some of the set piece design it feels a little bit archaic, such as rooms where enemies will respawn indefinitely for a set amount of time, a boss battle which is basically a really overpowered enemy. It just sort of feels like slightly old style game design, which just kind of jars a little bit with how modern it all looks and the year it came out. You know, it's 2012 and some of the game design here would feel old 5 years ago. But generally I think the reason I enjoyed it so much is because it's a really compelling universe. You know, I think they've done the future noir thing very well. The story is there's a good drive to it, and there's a good sense of mystery. So if you want a really good story-led experience and aren't too concerned about deep tactical gameplay, then I think you should give Syndicate a chance. But we'll have to see how it all pans out in the final game, because I've only played the opening scenes. If it can keep up the opening hour for the whole game, that consistency, then it could be really good, but we'll have to see when it's time to review it.
Agent Kelly, thank you for your service.